And that was a commercial that's filming in Atlanta, and I'm in Oklahoma City right now. Patience is a very big part of anything. We need to go to LA. That is the key. That's what's happening. I think I'm ready. And the hard truth of the matter is I was not ready. Well, COVID-19 has made it very interesting. Everything is turning even more before to self-tapes, virtual like auditions and things like that, which I think it was already going to be going that way. But this for sure has made people realize not only can they see more people in one setting of an audition, but that it makes it work better, I guess, if that makes sense. There's just not enough time, especially in television casting, that they can see a bunch of people. So there's this casting director company in Atlanta, and they're called Philistine and Paris Casting, who I love dearly. And but they cast a majority of the TV shows there. There's obviously other casting directors that will do other TV shows, but they are the ones who will do a lot. And they always have slated TV shows ready. When one ends, they have another one picked back up. So at one time, I think they were casting like 9-10 TV shows at once. So, and how they've said this is they break it down into about 20 to 30 people for one role will audition, and that's self-tapes. So if they had to schedule time for live auditions and stuff, less people would get to come in. So it's kind of a double-edged sword that's happening. I like the environment of going into a live audition and being there and having people redirect me when I'm off of what they're wanting. But then self-tapes, you get to have kind of whatever job you want because you have a set time that you have to get your self-tape in. So that you could get your self-tape notice Monday and it could be due on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Right? So that gives you a lot of time the allotted time to figure out when you're free to go and do that self-tape.
And you just brought up a good point about like we're all like everyone, the casting directors, they're all doing these Zoom meetings for audition calls. Everyone coming in at once? Is everyone in a room at once?
No.
And they're showing up like the Brady Bunch picture like, with the grid?
I wish. That'd be kind of funny.
Because I could see that as kind of a cool thing. And Zoom now allows you to record separately too. So everyone can be doing their auditions and they can be getting a separate recording for their audition all at once, saving a lot of time.
For sure. And what's cool about it is, so how I have you set up right now is I'm looking directly at you, and then I see my little box up in the right. So kind of like Skype or FaceTime. They're doing multiples of those. Like Zoom is starting to become a really important one. Then there's the Skype, obviously, and then there's FaceTime. Whereas like I've had multiple callbacks already, even before COVID, that have been over Skype. And it's an interesting way of looking at it. It's one of those things where I personally like being around people in person and showing them in person, like, I'm not going to let this nerves like crack me under pressure type thing. Whereas over Zoom, it's hard to have a personal connection over electronic devices. So, but the thing is it's hard because that's how they're going to go. Now that
I could see like in a callback situation that when they want to make a decision on someone after the first initial call, then there's a callback, and then now they can organize a safe meeting for everyone.
Which I hope it goes back to that. I don't know. Like I'm very optimistic on certain things and very realistic on other things. In this whole situation, it's hard. It's going to be really hard to film anything. It's going to be hard to have big productions happen again. And they're looking at trying to quarantine everyone in their own spaces, and having like 10 or less people in one room, and having a lot of like cleaning supplies and equipment cleaned every single time they use it. And it's just, and the main thing that's making it really hard to go back to filming is insurance for SAG actors. It's hard for insurance to justify covering all of that.
There's definitely a lot of production scheduling changes.
Mm-hmm.
I can see for at least for the next 2 years while we search for a way to get past this.
For sure.
But we just jumped right into it. This was great. I'm trying to go. First of all, so far I didn't open up any of my questions. I just jumped right into.
I know.
First time I ever did that. So we're off to a really great start.
I'm already different from everyone else that's been on here. I can't. No.
Well, I just released, and I was introduced to you by Christian, and I just released his episode earlier this morning.
Yeah, I was listening to the very first part of it, just kind of get a feel of what everything was.
So I just want to go off of, did I share you that one YouTube clip about finding your purpose?
Yeah. Yes.
So these next few questions, I'm condensing them. So they're taking like 10 minutes to ask. So I'm trying to condense these into like, instead of 5 questions, 3 questions. So the first 1 and 2 I asked together. Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Jace Greenwood. I am a professional actor, if you want to put it that way. And yeah. I don't know how to elaborate more on that.
I usually do live stream, but I can upload this one.
I'm already being difficult.
I jumped right into it. I forgot to do my setup. Third question is, what do you do? Who do you do it for? Who? And what expectations do you have of them? Or what expectations? Trying to get.
Like expectation, you mean like when I do
my job? What's the end result? Expected result that someone should get from you?
So I'll answer this backwards. I'll answer that question first, and then you
go ahead. For clarification, who do you do it for, and what expectation should be expected
by the end
from you? Yeah.
So I'm doing it for mainly the people that feel as if they can't use their left side of their brain. And what that means is there's people who use a lot of their right side, and they're very analytical and very into like, this is the realism of the situation. This is what we have to abide by, right? And then there's the left side of the brain where you see a lot of artists have, where they're very like open to their imagination. They're very like sensitive to their feelings and emotions and things like that. And they've done a lot of like self-help work. And not saying that the right side hasn't, it just generally goes that way. That's why you see a lot of people on the right side will be very good accountants or CEOs or lawyers or something along those lines. And then you see a lot of artists like dancers, singers, actors, painters, sculptors will be a lot of left side brain, because they're just very open to the imagination. Whereas, so I'm doing it more for everyone. I want people to look, I want the person who's right-sided to look at a movie I did and say, wow, that affected me in a way that nothing ever has. Or I want people to start looking at what true work is, like what true growth, passion, and emotions will get you. what happens when you start opening up like that is really my goal as an actor. I want people to see my work and immediately think, wow, I can grow up to be a gay actor because Jace made it. Or I don't have to be ashamed of who I am because I get to be whoever I want because Jace did it and he didn't let anyone tell him no. And that's ultimately what I want people to see in the very end. And that's my goal as an actor, as an artist.
I think you may have already touched on the last question, but what is that's maybe the overall expectation? What's the expected change by
like
the person?
Or by a person?
Yeah. By the other side.
Follow their dreams. That they
to inspire.
To inspire to follow their dreams, to never say no. Even when it's like uncomfortable, even when it's one of those situations where they're like, should I be doing this? Or, man, I have a lot of doubt in my head. And I want people to overcome that. I want them to inspire to be the best that they can be. And don't let anyone tell them they can't be. And hopefully my work does that for them.
So, and just to say never, maybe to not say never, not never say no, but know when to say no, because your time is important too.
It is important. It's one of those, if you don't put the work in, if you don't put your passion and everything in, it's like, what's the point? What's the point in following something that you know you're not going to love? You know, it's not going to bring you happiness. And we are in a society that really is built on money. And like money, people see money as success, which that's not the case. I know many people who make a ton of money, but they are insanely unhappy. And so success in this industry is very skewed. It's the success that you find in yourself is the happiness that you find in your emotions and feelings versus when am I going to get paid next? Why can't I book that job, or why can't I book that role?
Paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we live in a society that's like that, and it stumps a lot of people's imaginations and dreams.
So what steps are you like taking to get past all that to do this inspiration? What steps are you taking?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm very much into self-help. So that TED Talk that you sent me is something that I normally would just watch. Things like that are very much, I find it very healing. With a lot of things, I've had to come and realize that patience is a very big part of anything, not just acting, but just in general patience. A lot of people have very short patience. So I've had to learn how to control my patience. I've had to learn how to control my feelings about things, my judgment, and those things can be very, very toxic. And that's how I've had to go about this. How my way of thinking and what I just said before you asked your question. I've had to learn how to meditate, realize when nerves are a thing, realize when stress is happening. Ever since I started meditating and started really working on my inner self, my stress levels have never reached a point where I felt overwhelmed. And
I can say the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, I'm not going to go too far into this, but I have a very like different look on life and why we're here and things like that. And I truly believe like we have energy flowing through us, and like our soul is a huge part of who we are. And this is just like an outer shell is the skin, and what you see, right? So I believe that energy is energy. Like when you get worked up, your energy is really high, so it makes you want to cry. It makes you want to do all those things. And I'm just not the person to believe in masking that.
Is this Kyle Cease in disguise? Have you heard
Probably.
of Kyle Cease?
I don't know. I just wanted to agree.
It sounds like something like I watched him. The guy I actually listened to who inspired my podcast. He's more of a relationship life coach, relationship life coach, entrepreneur. I'm probably mixing up those words along the lines, but anyway, Lewis Howes and the School of Greatness podcast. He's had Kyle Cease on twice too. He talks. He had like over 900 guests on his show in like 8-year span.
Well, now
Kyle Cease is one of his guests, and it's great. It's everything. A lot of things that probably should be taught in school are touched on this show, and it's one of the greatest podcasts I ever listened to. Definitely for self-help, looking into yourself,
which I think
recommend it.
So important for actors. I feel like artists in general, it's so important to have self-help, have things, an outlet that you go and do that isn't so focused on acting, because in a world, the acting world we have very few control. We have a lot less control than a lot of people think. And the control that we do have is making sure we don't crack under pressure. And so you hear all the time with the celebrities and stuff like that. You see their audition videos and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. They've been spending at least 10, 15 years, if not more, working on that. So when you see a celebrity do an amazing tape, they're ready for it. They've been given that opportunity and they excel with that opportunity that was given to them because they're ready. And unfortunately, a lot of actors feel like they can just wake up and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be famous tomorrow. And it's just realistically, that doesn't happen. It's very hard work. It's very hard work on you as a person. And it's very hard work handling your ego and channeling your ego. And there's a healthy ego, and then there's too much of an ego. And I'm very, very big on that. And this guy, that the podcast you just mentioned, sounds very accurate.
Yeah, I just actually came from my first time going to this. He's done it for the 4th year now. I don't know what's going to come this next year because it's in September, October. Mm-hmm. But it's in Columbus, Ohio, where he's from. And he hosts this weekend event, and he brings in past guests that he had to come and speak. And they come in and give their time, no paid. They don't get paid for this. And they come and speak and give their time to this community of this greatness community. He calls it his greatness community.
Yeah.
And I went there last September for my first time, and Kyle Cease was one of the speakers too. And he has one great message. His overall message is just about, and it goes, and all the speakers and guests that he has pretty much has that same concept of you are enough. And his message is, and it's leaving my mind right now, and it's
so good.
About the fear. Fall in love with your fears.
Yes.
It's stored back here in the back of my mind. Just need to recall it. Yeah, fall in love with your fears. We're in a global pandemic right now, and I love that. It's pretty much get your mind thinking that in that kind of way.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Fall in love with your fears, and they'll pass.
I agree.
Fast forwarding to today.
Okay.
I know you told me something. You probably have something to be excited about.
Okay,
What are
so
you excited about today?
well, first I'm gonna start off with I'm excited that I get to wake up and have my cup of coffee in the morning. I'm excited that I get
Coffee's
to
good.
be around my family. Um, I think a lot of people in general take for granted the special things they have in their life, and so I'll start with that, and then I'm excited. I'm very worrisome with how things are opening back up so fast and how much people don't care about what's going on, and that can be scary. But I'm also one that I can't go out there and say, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, because I reserve the right to do what's going to make me comfortable and what's going to make me safe. So I have to be a part of the movement that's happening, I guess, right now. We can call it that. That's basically what's happening. Life as we know it is changing because of a pandemic. But so in a roundabout way, I'm really excited that I had a callback for an awesome commercial, which I won't say what the commercial is because I don't want to open that up to the world. But I got a call back for a commercial, and we got to do the commercial. We got to do the audition for the commercial over Zoom, and that was a commercial that's filming in Atlanta, and I'm in Oklahoma City right now. So the fact that I got to do that callback is insane. That's amazing. It means people are adjusting to what the new normal is, and they're paying attention at what is happening in the world. And that I couldn't say anything more important right
now. Yeah, to touch on what you said about the reopen. I'm glad, Pete, that things started to reopen, even if it like 25%. I'm glad people are going because like you, I'm probably not going to be, at least for a year, maybe a little more. I'm okay if I want to go anywhere. I'm okay with to go or take out. I'm okay with that. But I'm glad other people are doing that and they're doing their thing. It's their choice, but I can only control and focus on me, and because I want to stay in and do to go and just take it that little bit slower. I'm glad other people are willing to take that risk a little bit further.
I think with something so brand new like this, regardless if we like it or not, it's new. It's really hard for people to transition into new when they're so used to something. And I think a lot of people are finding what that new is. If I don't agree with it, I don't agree with it. If I do agree with it, I do. It doesn't really matter. It's their life. I just know that there, on both sides of the situation, there are negatives. And I'm very realistic in the matter of, are we going to be able to survive the next month? Are we able to, and I'm talking about the people, are we able to survive? Because unfortunately, and I'm not going to get too much into this because I don't really like talking about politics and all of that, but unfortunately our government isn't wanting to fully take care of us. So we do have to go back to work. We do have to have an income coming in. We do have to have all of that because that's just how society is. Like our rent is due. I don't want to talk about luxuries because you can get rid of luxuries, but our necessities, electric, power, water, things like that, a homestead, those all require money to run. So if we're not making that, then how else are we going to do it? First, and then you also have the other side. There's a lot of people who are mad, who are just angry. And what's happened with quarantine and people being stuck inside a home or stuck inside of a place for so long periods of time, you have all of these emotions and feelings that a lot of people don't accept and want to accept. So they lash out, they burst. You can't hold back emotions or feelings, or you become a very jaded, almost mean person. And with quarantine and not being able to go like see your friends, not going to be able to go do your normal again, all of that's taken away. So then you have all these people who want to yell and threaten people and threaten their lives and things like that because they don't want to be told what to do. And it's just such an interesting time that we're in. It's scary. It can be scary, I should say.
And to spin this and go ahead, there's the negative, there's positive. People are learning about themselves in this time. They're learning about, you know, their home. They're realizing flaws in their home.
Yeah.
Oh, my house has to be clean. That's one of the first things that happened when everyone out to go panic buy. Oh, I'm not as clean as I probably should be, so I need to go out and get some cleaning supplies.
That's a positive.
Yeah, that's a big positive.
Started realizing, like, I can't pick my nose and touch someone with it. Like, that should just be something that people know.
So with all that, with all this learning, I see, and I saw this coming, but I just didn't know what time. Now I may have a more clear picture of maybe it's sooner rather than later now, but YouTube, it has been, and not that I really don't want to mention any platforms, but I mean, we're in the industry. I say all these different streaming platforms,
right?
But YouTube is a big common one. I mean, we say Google or YouTube is pretty much the same company. That's where I've been focusing a lot of my watching on YouTube. YouTube has a lot of content by anyone can just upload, whether they go live or whether they recorded something and upload later.
And same with Vimeo.
And Vimeo too. I usually forget about Vimeo, but
I mean, yeah, but I mean, there's so much content out there, which kind of brings me to the point of, like, that's amazing for actors. There's just simply too much content out there to, like, house all of the celebrities, I guess you want to say. So you see a lot of, like, there will be 3 roles. Let's say there's a TV show on Netflix, right? There will be 3 roles that celebrities will fill. And then a lot of them this is their first major booking. The girl, Catherine Langford in 13 Reasons Why. 13 Reasons Why was her major booking. A lot of the cast in 13 Reasons Why, that was their major booking, which is incredible. It shows that there's more opportunities for people who are really, really working hard. So when the opportunities come, they can show how amazing they are, that make all these networks and television and all of that turn around and say, wow, we have so much more we can have, versus, well, we need a celebrity to sell this, which is still true. They still do that, but there's just too much out there for them to fill everything, and which I love.
And if you can put your focus out there, you can, and then focus on what people are looking for, what to know what they're looking for. And you can focus on something. If you whether write something or find someone to write something for you, and you can collaborate on something and get creative now with the shooting. You're right for the times, knowing that we have to be in these little boxes. Try to do that as best I can, but knowing that we have to be in these little boxes, right for the times, and get creative. I see Saturday Night Live doing it. Tom Hanks hosted Saturday Night Live from his home. I haven't watched it since, but I saw that one.
Yeah. The first scripted television show that did it, I think, was this is, I think it's on ABC. I could be wrong. Anyway, it's about a judge, and they did their first like virtual episode, and it was really cool. I think a lot of situations right now, a lot of people are coming to it and saying, how else can we make this work? How else can we see what else we can do? They're not just letting it stump them. They're saying, well, what else can we do? And I have a lot of hope for that. I have a lot of hope that as humans, we can figure out new ways to live.
What time or when your realization came that you wanted to do this in the industry as an actor and work in the industry?
So I've always been the outgoing type. At first, I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I put my mind on something that I'm really passionate about, there's a lot that would take me to change my mind. And that's a lot of conversations about, like, you have to see it in this way, Jace. You have to see it in this way, because I can be very stubborn, which can be a great asset to me or a great fault. It just depends on the situation. So what really made me start really wanting to do this is my junior year in high school. I went and saw this play, and it's beside the point if it was a good play or not. I just knew that I really wanted to be on stage. I really was like, I could do that. What's stopping me from doing that? And then I started really focusing on like acting classes, community theater. I did a lot of, and I just enjoyed the thrill. I enjoyed being able to, I don't know another job in this world that you get to make up a new person. I don't know a job that lets you explore a whole new way of life from beginning to whenever the movie starts, right? Or TV show, whatever your character is in that moment. But you get to make that entire backstory up, and you get to decipher words that someone else wrote that you get to look at and be like, oh, this is what that person means. They thought about that. That was their thought process when they were writing this. That's amazing. And I don't know another job that you get to do that. I could be wrong, but that's just how I've looked at it. And being able to do something so open and so raw brings me kind of a high. It's very, very appealing to me. It's very hard. It's very hard on myself. But I think if you're going to grow in your life, or you grow in a certain point in your life, being hard on you and swallowing the hardest pill is the most rewarding thing you can do, in my opinion. But that, to answer your question, that's what brought me to it. Was back in junior year of my high school, I went and saw a play, and I was like, I want to do this. And then I went to college for theater performance, and that a lot of personal things happened during my college. So I had to drop out, and I lost my financial aid and my grant, so I couldn't pay for college anymore. So it made me grow up a lot faster than I intentionally wanted, I guess. And I sought out film and television classes here in Oklahoma. And then I met one of the best people I've had the pleasure of meeting, and her name's Michelle DeLong, and she teaches film classes and does a lot of like in-person classes here in Oklahoma City. And then there's another one named the Actor Factory, and Chris Freihofer is amazing as well. But she was just the first one that I saw that was closest to me, like distance wise, she was closest to me. And she basically just laid into me and gave me the you can really make this happen, but you have to put the hard work in. And it was like having an acting mother in a sense. And I give a lot of my success and a lot of my hard work and dedication to her.
You have a piece of advice for someone just out of college or high school, and they see a similar path. They want to be actor or something in the film.
Be smart.
Advice.
Yes, be smart about your surroundings. Everyone thinks LA is the key. Everyone thinks New York City is the key. I will tell you right now, unless you're graduating from Yale Drama, Carnegie Mellon, Tisch, New York Film Academy, or Juilliard, you are not, it's going to be very hard. Especially if you go to LA, especially if you're trying to get into film and television. And why I'm saying this is because I want people to be realistic about their situation. Find your successes, find your growth, find your happiness and all of that where you are. Even in Oklahoma.
Let that take you to wherever it'll take you.
So so in Oklahoma, when I dropped out of college, I was very much like, I told my husband, I was like, I want to go to LA. We need to go to LA. That is the key. That's what's happening. I think I'm ready. And the hard truth of the matter is I was not ready, and I was not willing to see that. And so I said, I think I'm ready. And then Chris Freihofer and Michelle DeLong, funny enough, are the two that were like, what about Atlanta? Atlanta is gonna blow up. It's gonna happen. The tax incentives are crazy there. It's like eating at a restaurant on appetizers. Your bill is just naturally gonna be cheaper. So Atlanta is the appetizer of the film industry, right? If that's the best metaphor for that, don't quote me on that. So they both were like, you need to go to Atlanta. You need to have fun. You need to really experience what it's like to be in that market, because that market is still big. Atlanta's market is becoming really big. I went to Atlanta. I went into my first scene study class, and they literally my teacher looked at me and said, man, you need a lot of work. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I do need a lot of work. It hurt. I thought I was ready. I thought I was ready to go to LA. I thought I was ready to be told you're not good enough, or you're not good looking enough, or you just suck. I have someone better, or you don't have a name talent. Why should I even invest in you? I thought I was ready for all of that, but there's very much a difference of knowing that's what's going to happen and actually having it happen to you. And in Atlanta, I had a lot of situations where my morals were jeopardized. And that's in Atlanta. I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like in LA. And I'm not bashing on LA. Like, I think LA and New York City are the like end goals for an actor. In my opinion.
You don't start in the big time. And it makes sense. Because
there's so much middle in there. Yeah. There's so much that you have to accomplish in yourself before you feel like you can be ready to go. I had a friend get an audition for a series regular in LA. They had 24 hours to make up a character with 10 pages of dialogue in 24 hours before their audition. That's insane. That's crazy. If you don't have the skills to be able to do it, and you can't, that's not something that's taught to you. You can be advised by it. People can say like, this is what helps me, but you have to find a way to make that work for you. So that's crazy to me. And I was very naive. So when I ended up in Atlanta, I met a couple of teachers that I love dearly to this day, and some casting director, not some, no, I can say some casting directors I have like a personal connection with that I would go and buy them dinner and bring it to their house. Like that's the personal connection I'm talking about. And the hard work and dedication and the networking that I did for Atlanta has really made me realize not even stuff about me, but stuff like you need to just have in this industry. And what made me realize that I needed a lot of work was having a casting director say, you're not ready for this guest star. You're not ready for a co-star. You're not ready to even say one word on a television show. You can't even walk and talk at the same time. Like it's very interesting when it comes to this career and what you're ready for and what you can be ready for with a lot of work and practice and dedication. And it took me a long time to realize that. I think I answered your question.
Going into an audition, and we'll get more into the audition process here.
Yeah, for sure.
But is there anything you do? Are you superstitious or about like rituals or a habit or just a morning routine the day of, or a routine for the day?
I don't. If you want to call meditation that, if you want to call meditation a ritual of something, but I do that a lot. I do that on days I don't even have an audition.
That would be more like a routine.
Yeah, no, I don't.
An everyday routine.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's an everyday routine. I don't believe in superstitions and things like that because that's putting your fear and your anxiety and everything else on something else, hoping that will take care of it for you. Whereas if you just focused on you and you focused on your fear and your anxiety and realized where the anxiety was coming from, I think it's a lot more helpful. In my area, it has been. Every time I think about why is my chest getting tight, or why am I breathing too heavily, or why is this one chair that I'm sitting in outside the audition room like the worst thing to sit in ever? Why is my breath like, why am I breathing so heavily? And then so asking yourself those questions and then finding the answer is, I think, way more important than a ritual you do. But that's it. That's my opinion about that. Other people have different opinions.
Are there a certain number of, say, I got to do this? People say, I got to do this, and this today. So, and I'm specified maybe for you, this could be go to 10 auditions today. Do you set like a number per day, per week, per month of like auditions, and kind of like playing the numbers game?
Yeah. No, I don't. And here's the reason why. I believe if people are like, well, why didn't I get an audition this week? Or why didn't I get one last week? Or why did my friend get that audition? But I know I'm that type and I could easily audition for that role. I don't believe that's healthy. I don't believe it's any way to look at a situation. I think that's when you really need to start talking to yourself and saying, what am I being lazy on? What am I not doing to make me be able to get those auditions? What did I do in my last audition for that casting director that made them say, no, not this time? That's, I feel, is more important to do. Ask those questions versus, forgive me if this comes off mean, but I don't mean it to come off that way. I feel like if I'm sitting there asking myself, well, why didn't I get an audition? I feel that's a very vain thing to ask. I feel like that's a very conceited thing to ask, because you're basically saying they overlooked me. Like, why did they overlook me? And when you start getting into that mindset, it gets very toxic very fast. And I've been in that mindset. That's why I can talk about this. And it's too consuming. It's too much. Like, I found myself breaking out badly because all I could worry about was, why didn't I get an audition? Well, what did I do wrong? Why couldn't I do that? And funny enough, it takes away your ability to do good work, because that's all you're worried about. I took a class with a really good teacher. Her name's Crystal Carson, and she talks about the levity of equilibrium, or whatever that is. I'm messing up on my words too. Promise. But she basically talks about like having your arms like this. Whereas if you go too much this way up like this, you're too focused on the negative. You're too focused on, well, they're gonna laugh at me if I mess up my words. If I don't have my words right, they're gonna laugh at me, or they're not gonna cast me. Oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to come back in this casting director's office, or this producer is gonna hate me, or this director is gonna hate me because I messed up on their words. And you're not there for that. You're there to show like your work, the choice that you made, that the ability to make their job easier. When you walk in, you want to be able to be like, you're casting me because I'm your only choice. And that is coming from a place of humble, not a place of vain, if that makes sense. But then there's the other too much. There's the, I'm fully going into my character. I need to do this, this, and this. And it's just, and she broke it down in a way that made a lot of sense on a lot of troubles that I had of caring way too much about what other people think, because they're just doing their job and you're doing yours. And your job is to make a character come to life. Do the words on the page, but make it so different that they say, wow, I never saw it that way. And they're going to do their job, and they're always going to pull you back into what reality is, like what they're actually looking for in that situation. But I believe there should be an equal. There should be well, I need to focus on my work, but I'm not going to let it overconsume me. But that's basically what my thought process is when I go into auditions. And I just don't believe in expecting an audition or expecting this. I believe if I don't get an audition, then I need to realize, what in my materials do I not have? What are they not seeing that I can fix on my end?
How do you make a decision for yourself if you see his script, first of all, how do you see the opportunities for, I'll go into this first question first. How do you see the opportunities for, how do you get the script or opportunity in front of you?
Well, in this day and age, it's for sure having an agent. Now, that being said, there's a lot of people who are different ethnicities will get really great opportunities. I've known two people who one booked Light as a Feather, and another one booked Panic, that's filming in Austin, Texas, and they didn't have agents. They got the opportunity on their own and booked huge roles by themselves. But I really am enjoying seeing like the industry start going towards more like, we can have a Black lead, or we can have a Hispanic lead, or we can have an Asian run this TV show. Like the TV show is on their back. It's their character. The TV show is revolved around their character, and it's so amazing to start seeing those opportunities come up for them. So it's harder. It just depends on what category you're in and what type and age range, because In my type and category, and I'm basing this off of a factual information that I was told by agents that I've been with and managers and casting directors. My type is very saturated. It's very, there's always going to be an 18 to 24 young male white adult. There's always going to be that happening. So it's harder for me to get like opportunities on my own when it comes to really big things. That's not me saying that I haven't been able to get opportunities on my own, because I have. But it took a lot more work to find that than if I just had an agent and they were pitching me and submitting me. And that's for me to answer that question, it'd be different from someone who was in their late 30s, early 40s, things like that. It'd be a bit different, but ultimately, you really need an agent. You need an agent to be able to submit you, do your, basically be the professional side of things. So they take care of making you look professional. But that's how opportunities come my way.
And then once the opportunity's in front of you, what makes you decide, hey, I want to go after this?
This is gonna be funny.
Sorry if you already mentioned it a little bit, but
no. I'm laughing because I don't have a lot that stops me from doing something. There's only two things that I would really like want to have a conversation with the director for, and it's anything to do with rape or anything to do with pedophilia. I would be very hard pressed to say yes to anything up front. It's very interesting. There was this audition that I had for that Amy Adams TV show that's on HBO. And she has a very traumatic moment in therapy where she talks about like how a bunch of high schooler football players basically raped her. And they talk about that in that TV show, spoiler alert. And they talk about that, and I auditioned for one of the football players that's like the main guy who like headed it all. And the audition process was insane. And
sounds intense.
Yeah, and it's very hard to ask someone to be able to do that. But how I look about playing roles and stuff like that is I want to play them so truthfully that it makes people realize this isn't how people should be. I want them to realize, hey, that guy played it so well that it's made my skin crawl. I need to do something because I have a daughter or I have a son. We don't talk enough about that in today's society, about how the LGBT community, a lot of gay men will get raped. So that's, and a lot of straight men will too, but they just, it's a pride thing. They don't want to talk about that ever. So it's very hard. But to answer your question, I want to play a character so vividly or so imagery. I want to put I want to put images in people's heads that make them say, oh, we need to do something. We need to do something better. That's why I like playing bad boys. That's why I like playing characters that are flawed and stuff like that, because not only is that fun for me in character study, but it's also interesting to have people come up and be like, I really hated your character, but this is how you made me feel. And that's the most important compliment you can get as an actor, is making someone feel something. But so I'm not big on a lot, not accepting work unless it revolves around those two topics, because that can be, especially pedophilia, that's very hard, because then I have to get into that character mindset, and I don't know if I want to yet at my age. Maybe when I'm older and I understand it more and I understand what would have to be put into place for it to happen.
I could definitely see that takes advanced thinking for sure.
Oh yeah. And there are people who've made it work, have been nominated for Oscars for it, and their work has affected me in a way that I'm very much like, that's hard. But yeah, to answer your question.
And you take away from some very good roles, very well done. If you want to talk on the Batman series of the Dark Knight, especially regarding the Joker and Heath Ledger, and what I heard like so many times that took a toll on him. So, but he still did that role so well.
It took a toll on him, but he was also going through a lot before then. So it wasn't, I think a lot of people believe that Heath Ledger took his life because he got so intent into that role. And he did, but then he came out of that role like, okay. He came out of that role okay. It wasn't the role of Joker that made Heath Ledger take his life. It was the battles he was dealing with beforehand. If you watch his documentary on Netflix, and there's another documentary too, his family did, and his manager and all of that did, and they talk about like how he was already affected. Like he was already battling really bad demons before he even accepted that role. That role, funny enough, is what made him find his passion and love again for acting and like handling really, really difficult characters. And he talks about how after he did 10 Things I Hate About You, he was very much like, I don't want to accept any more romantic comedies, because he kept getting offered them. And he was like, I don't want to be pigeonholed into that, which I have my things about being pigeonholed and stuff and typecast. I think at this stage in my career, I need to be typecast. Like I need to be heavily going down my lanes, because that's the work I'm going to book, and I need to be realistic about that. But he was very much like, I did the romantic comedy movie, and now I want to go into something else. And then he ended up doing like Patriot and The Dark Knight and all these roles, the Brokeback Mountain. All these roles that were so different from him that he was like, yeah, I love this, which all for him. But sorry, I just, there's a lot of people that talk about him like losing his life because of the role of the Joker, and he was already going through a lot before he even took that role on.
Yeah, and I know we talked about some of that stuff when we first started to actors going through things, and you said it to maybe a minute ago. A lot of actors going through, and you said it right, I think when we first started talking, a lot of actors are going through things off camera.
Yeah.
I take Robin Williams, and
yeah,
he's some very, very sad stories. And some of those are reasons why they go into that. And
think that that's the case that they have to accomplish. It's singers too. Amy Winehouse is a good example of it.
I'm going back to a question that I had when we were talking about all of this, and took me a little bit to remember it, but I finally did remember. I remembered the question, and we were talking about typecasting and learning. And my question, I want to get your thoughts on typecasting in general, and reading it from, I put in text so I wouldn't forget it again.
Yeah.
Do you see typecasting as a necessary means for a young actor, as we stated earlier, gives it somewhat of a steady flow, gives the actor or actress a somewhat of a steady flow of work, or to develop the skills necessary to branch out from the typecast and into more meaningful roles?
Two other roles. So I'm going to start off with, before I answer that question, I'm going to start off with how it's worked for me, and then I'll answer the question as like a whole, if that makes sense. But basically how it's worked for me is, yes, typecasting is essential for any starting actor. Any type of actor that's starting, you need to find your 3 types or 4 types if you feel like you can play that. It depends on your age range and your ethnicity too. But for me, I play 3 different typecast roles that I have footage for, I have headshots for, and I have proof that I can play those. And that's essentially what everyone wants. It gets down to the nitty-gritty of, even if you don't believe in typecasting and you're like, I don't want to be typecast and I don't want to do all of that, it's ridiculous. You don't have that power. You never will. These success stories you hear overnight, those aren't success stories that are happening overnight. Those are actors that have been training and working hard on their craft forever. One of my favorite stories is Jennifer Lawrence, and how people think she just came out of nowhere, but she dropped out of school in middle school. Means she didn't finish middle school, and went and stayed in New York for a summer, and it convinced her parents to let her stay in New York because she was discovered on the street by agents, a multitude of agents that wanted to sign her. And she ended up signing, and her first major booking was the Bill Engvall show. And then she started branching off and doing independent movies, where she played the pretty cheerleader. She played the really pretty everything. And then, to the point that her Oscar nomination that put her on the map of stardom was Winter's Bone. And if anyone has seen that movie, it's very gritty. It's for sure not for a pretty cheerleader role. It's not for any of those. It's a really gritty, horrible role. And when I say horrible, I mean the circumstances of what that character goes through is horrendous. And it needed to be authentic. It needed to be someone who didn't look like they just went to the salon or something along those lines. And she had to go to 4 different casting directing offices to convince them that she was right for that role. And if you watch that movie, there's no one else I could see playing that role other than Jennifer Lawrence. She does such a good job. It's why she got nominated for an Oscar. But that being said, she was typecast. Go back and watch everything that she did before Winter's Bone. Go watch everything Brie Larson did before Room. All of them are typecast. You lean into your typecast because that's the essential work that you need to be getting, to the point that you then can beef up your resume and you start booking a series regular, or you book 2 series regulars, or you really get into it, that you then have the knowledge, you have the skills, and you have the substance to be able to say, you know what, reps, agents, manager, whoever you're with, both, I want to go out for this one role in this independent film that they're doing, or there's this huge role that's coming out in this TV show that I think I'd be perfect for. I want to do that. Can you get me an audition for it? And then that's on the actor. That's on the actor to then prove to casting, prove to production, prove to the showrunner or director of the movie or producers that you can play that role and you're not a typecast. Jennifer Aniston talks about it every single time she's on an interview about being Rachel from Friends. She was typecast, and she was typecast for a really long time. So then she finally was like, you know what? I have all of this. I can prove myself, so I'm going to do it. And then she reached out to do a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and the movie name is escaping me right now, but she branched out. And once that came out, she was then looked at as a dramatic actress. She was then looked at as not Rachel. And she had to fight that for so long, the Rachel persona. But my thing is if you aren't helping your agents and you're not helping your manager, wherever you are, if you're not sitting there and saying, okay, well, these 3 roles I can easily play, meaning when the agents and managers get the breakdowns, they say, okay, well, we need an 18 to 24 bad boy character who has a really rough life, but he's rich. I'm getting submitted for that. And it's not me personally, it's my materials, it's my headshot, and it's my package, my actor package. Then I get that audition. It's why I got an audition for Gossip Girl, the remake, the reboot. It's why I got an audition to play the bad boy in the Sabrina series, in the new one that's on Netflix, and all of those. And it's not because of my talent. It didn't even get there. It's because of my package. The talent comes in when you get the audition and when they see your footage. So that's where your talent needs to reside, is when you book a project, you need to be incredible. You need to be incredible in that role. So when you have that footage and you're putting it on your package, your acting package, then your agents then can submit that and be like, he can play this, he can play this, he can play this. So it's just hard for a beginning actor, when we say young actor, that's what I'm going off of, is a beginning actor. I'm not saying young is an age, because we know that that's not the case. There's been young actors who have branched out and have done incredible.
We're just starting out with little to no experience.
Little to no experiences, but they're like the leads in these movies, and they're incredible. To the point that it's branching out into Atlanta, meaning like there's kid actors who are starring in movies from Atlanta against like Cate Blanchett, and just incredible actors. So when I say young actor, it means experience and it means skill wise. So beginner actors who haven't been at this, who are just starting out, my best advice, and now I'm getting into me, my best advice is lean into 3 different types you can play, and you have to be brutal with yourself. You can't just sit there and be like, I'm going to be the next leading woman, or I'm going to be the next leading man. Be realistic with yourself. If you're not realistic in this career, yeah, dreams will go far away, but you have to combine the two. You can't live in a fantasy. You have to live in reality. How you're going to get to your dream. How do you make the stepping stones to get there? And that's my big advice in answering your question is, you lean into the 3 types you can play, reasonably play. Like, your agents and managers are going to be able to submit you, and you're going to get an audition for it because your package and your materials speak to those roles. But who knows? If I book 2 series regular roles and they're both very successful TV shows, let's say I book one and it's a very successful TV show, it gets 5 or 6 seasons, cross my fingers, and it's really successful and I become a name, then that's when I'll say, okay, agents, what is my next plan? What is my next step? What can I branch out of? So if it's the pretty bad boy type who is rich, his family's rich, and he wants to, he has daddy issues or whatever the case may be. And I only say that because the last project I booked, that was legitimately my character. And it seems to be what I audition for a lot. So with that being said, then I would go to my agents and say, you know what, I want to play the rugged kid who grew up in a trailer park, who has a drug issue and a problem. And that's another one of my types that I play, depending on how I shave, how I style my hair, whatever the case may be. I have proof of all of this. So then I'm like, I want to play that in my next TV show. I want to play that in my next movie. How do I approach that? How do I even get to that? Then my agents then will come back to me and say, well, do you have the proof that you can play that? Then I say, well, no, I don't, which isn't the case. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Then I say, no, I don't. I don't have proof of that. But let me find a scene. Let me put myself on a self-tape and prove that I can play this. And use that footage of this self-tape to then send off to casting or send off to that. What's the worst that's going to happen? Casting says, no, we don't see them. We don't see him in that. Or yes, he gets an audition. It's all about how you view yourself and how you view realistically yourself, I should say, and how your agents and your team views you. It's a team. I call up my agent in Texas and I'm like, hey, I really, really like this audition I did. Can you please pitch me harder for the role? Can you send a message to casting saying, hey, will you move Jace's audition tape up to the directors? And that's a whole nother story that we can get into later. But basically, to answer your question is lean into your typecast if you're a beginning actor. Even right now, I'm leaning in my typecast, and I'm going to, because it's going to give me the skills, the knowledge, and the substance to be able to branch out when I book one of my typecast. And I think it's insanely important. People who have this grand dream of being like, I get to play whatever I want. That's not the case. And unfortunately, I wish that
whatever you work for.
Case. Yeah. I wish that would be the case, but there's just not enough time in the casting world for them to even question it. Because one TV show, I watched a casting director break down one TV show submission, one episode, and it had 5 roles in that one episode. Each role was over 1,200 submissions. He only called in 30 to 40 people to audition for each role. And that's because self-tapes are prevalent right now. They give you more time. You don't get in the in-room experience, but you also get a chance to audition because they get to see more people. So it's a double-edged sword. But the situation is he only brought in 30 to 40. Let's say he brought in 40 max for each role, all 5. How many auditions is he watching? What's 40 times 5?
200, 40 times 5, 200.
Yeah, 200. So he's watching 200 self-tapes. And you have people that are like, I want to play a different role.
Show me you can do it. I'm doing the work. You do the work too.
Exactly. So you have to be able to do that. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is leaning into your typecast, getting that co-star, getting the one-liner on a TV show, getting the guest star, or eventually booking a series regular in your typecast that then you can prove to casting and be like, hey, I played this role really well. You really liked it. It got 6 seasons. And how hard is that going to take? Like, everyone needs to be realistic. It's not easy. It's not. And everyone wants to assume that acting is easy. Everyone tries to wake up and say, I can do this. And it's just not that simple.
It's like NBA players, like when you're an athlete, they make it look so easy. Actresses make it look so easy because they're so good at it.
Meryl Streep, I love her.
Oh, and
the reason I love her isn't because of the hype that goes around her.
She can play evil really well.
She plays everything really well.
Like,
she plays everything really well.
The thing that stands in my mind, one of my favorite movies, Rendition. If you ever heard of it, she stars and plays one of the lead roles in it. She's really evil in that, but she does that so well. But she does other stuff really well too. Yeah,
exactly. Some of my favorite movies of her isn't her as the Iron Lady was fantastic. It was one of her best roles to date, for my opinion. But her earlier stuff, like Bridges to Madison County, Silkwood, and Sophie's Choice, is some of the best acting I've ever seen. And she did 40 plays, went and got a Yale drama degree before she felt comfortable enough to go try to make it in New York City. What? She didn't feel comfortable when she got a degree from Yale drama? She didn't feel comfortable doing 40 plays? She didn't feel comfortable doing any of that until she did all of that and went to New York City to figure out that she didn't know anything. And every role that she gets, she will spend so much time on the script, so much time on the character development, so much time. That's why she's incredible. It's not because she's amazing in everything she's doing. It's the work that she's doing. It's the work that she's putting behind these roles. And the fact that she can do that and then go and star in these movies and it looks effortless, it's not. It's the same with all the other actresses, all the other actors that we think are incredible. They're putting the work in. They're putting the time and effort that it is to break down a character and have character description.
Yeah. That was answer kind of blew me away there. I had some follow-up questions and you kind of like touched on my follow-up questions already.
Seem to do that a lot.
It was great answer. I just let you flow with that. That was great. And
yeah,
you were starting, I think you're starting to say, it was maybe to me not that clear, but you're saying 3 things to do, and I picked up on the first one.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Just as like a summarize.
Yeah, summarize
the 3
version.
things.
So, first thing, lean into your types. Figure out what your 3 types are. That's the major thing. That's beginning everything. That's before you even submit to an agent. So then you figure out what your 3 types are. You focus on that. So that's where booking short films, student films, all of that is. You find your 3 types in those student films, casting. You find your types in short films. Believe me, it's really hard. Getting the footage back from those things can be annoying. That's why you need a contract. That's why you need to say, you are legally bound to give me my footage after we film these, because people will get away with it. Find your 3 types, depending on your age and ethnicity. Really hone into yourself. Get headshots done in those types. So if you're the leading bad boy, get a headshot done that's a leading bad boy. And by the way, you can find all of this information on my website, jacegreenwood.com, and you can go and see where I've labeled my headshot with each type and all of my footage on there and my demo reel and all of that. And you can see like what I go for and what types I go for. It's really easy. It's kind of like a self-explanatory thing to look at. And then to lean into those. So I helped one of your guests, Christian, lean into his 3 types. And we found out that he plays like the little smart-ass religious kid, which gets cast for all the time. The nerdy, kind of afraid of sticking out. So he's a follower type character. There's more. We came up with a more like detailed wording of those types. And then we found out that he could play the dark, like mysterious person who gets beat up on, but then he will come and like get his revenge. But so we figured out those 3 types in the matters of an hour. And then we went through his headshots and we found those 3 headshot types. And it's funny too, because you'll lean into those. You'll lean into your 3 types regardless if you want to or not. Like he didn't know about these 3 type things when he went to that headshot session, and I could pinpoint those 3 types in his headshot session. So you kind of lean into what you can play. naturally. You just do it. So find your materials, find all of that. Then the second thing is then submit to an agent, and make sure your pitch email is very prevalent on what you can play, your 3 types, what you can. Make sure you give them the proof, meaning your 3 headshots that you've picked out, plus a commercial shot. And just say in your pitch email everything that you've gone through. Meaning, like, so the second paragraph, the first paragraph is your introduction. The second paragraph is everything you've done, like all the successes you've done. The third paragraph is the future things that you're planning on doing to hone your craft and make you a better actor. So classes that you're planning on taking, things that you're seeking out because of this. Always align it to make sense to your agent. So if you're saying in your third paragraph, I'm going to come and take an 8-week scene study class in Georgia, I'm going to be there for 8 weeks. And I'm planning on staying longer. So to a Georgia agent, that means, oh, they're coming to hone their craft and they're a local hire. That's fantastic. So lean into what that agent is and do your research on that agent. And then the fourth paragraph is your closing statement. Say, always make it very confident. You have people who are like, if you have time, when you have time. No. I would like to meet with you. What times are available for you that is free for you to meet me with? Something along those lines. Always be confident. Doesn't matter if you have nothing on your resume, if you have blank space. Focus on your skills. Say, I went to state for track when I was in high school. That's awesome. I was in my drama club from 9th grade to 12th grade, and we placed first every time in drama competitions. This is if you have no footage, if you have nothing, and you only have your special skills, which I've seen resumes where it's only special skills, and then they try to put background work on there, and you're just like, you're a moving prop. You don't want that. The only time you want to do extra work is to learn, to learn the craft and watch the celebrities do it, to watch the A-listers do their thing. That's why being an extra is so important. Soak in the information around you. So anyway, don't put extra work on your stuff. Agents look at that and they say, well, okay, we don't need extras. We need people who can book work so we can make money. And then the third thing, then you get signed to your agent. Listen to them. Listen. If they're like, these 3 typecasts for you, they won't say that. They'll say these types that you've picked out are perfect. You're getting submissions all the time. We're submitting you all the time, and you're getting auditions back all of the time because you put in the work on your end. So casting sees that you can play that. It makes our job easy, and all we have to do is rely on you to give a good audition. So that's the third thing. Just listen to them. Most of the times they have important things to say. 99% of the time, agents have very important things to say that will help you because they've been in the business. They know. You just help them. It's a teamwork. You explain to them, like, these are the things that I get called in for all the time. Please heavily lean into submitting me for these roles because you will see a lot of auditions come back. Then they'll come back and say, that's smart. We like that. Or, actually, have you thought about it in this way? And everything is a compromise. Everything is a compromise. Never act as if they don't know what they're talking about, and then vice versa. Agents shouldn't act like the actor doesn't know what they're talking about. If they do the work. If they don't do the work and they come in and say, I want to be submitted to Superman, what does that help an agent with? Nothing. It literally helps with nothing. That's already been cast.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill is Superman. That's already been cast. How does that? What is an agent gonna do? Nothing. So and a manager's not going to do anything until you have the substance to be able to demand something like that. And that takes years. And that takes recognition. That takes time before you can even do that. So anyway, those are the three things.
Yeah, that was great. Glad that we were able to do this and get this question answered, because it's a big topic, not just for in any industry, really.
Oh, I know. That's very accurate.
You just gotta. I said when you were going through, technically that was a rant in the way that people go on these rants, and I mean it was good. Like these actors, anyone who, they need to go back and listen. This is probably one shareable thing I could share right away, even too. They need to go and listen to everything you said and take heart of everything you just said, because that's it.
So, and I don't, my thing with it is, this isn't my opinion. These are just facts that I've realized from people who have been in the business. Like, these words aren't coming from me. They're coming from people who have been at this for a very long time, whether that be a coach, a teacher, other actors who I know who are like booking like crazy, like series regular roles and things like that. And
so
casting directors,
your influences.
Agents. Yeah, all of it. Like this stuff that I'm saying, you'll hear in a casting director workshop. You'll hear in an agent workshop. Like you'll hear it, and I'm just saying it out loud for people who do tune into this. Like, it's made me become very successful when it comes to having amazing relationships with the casting directors in all of my markets. And that means the South Central, New Mexico, and Southeast markets that I constantly get called back in, because it's time and time again. It's just repetition. It's just learning what you need to do to work harder, so then you can be seen more and more and more. And that's not my words. That's coming from people that have been at this for ages.
I kind of want to ask you a question.
All right.
What made you do this?
I kind of said it's the podcast I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And it was my inspiration to start this up. He talks with anyone who's doing anything great, whether it be a filmmaker, whether it be, I'm talking to talk with the people in the industry to learn about things, to connect stories, to connect with stories, connect everyone in the film industry, because I know you don't have to go just to LA. Yeah, there's not a
direct path anymore.
Not a creative shortage, creativity shortage. People, I always hear that, but there's tons and tons of ideas all day long. There's a bunch of creative ideas.
I have friends here in Oklahoma City who are killing it with the creative ideas and making their own projects and stuff. There's some that their movies are getting so good that they're now able to fund having like an A-list celebrity in their movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's incredible the things that we can do now. And that's what we should be doing, honestly. We shouldn't be waiting for our next big opportunity from someone else. We should be out there creating our own passions and casting ourselves in things like that, because why not?
And that's how it should be. You don't go up to Mount Everest and say, I want to climb you by the end of today, and have never climbed anything before. You want to do this. Well, what's the first step? Or not the first step? Maybe what's the next step you have to take?
Yeah, agreed. There's this one TV show on Netflix called The OA, and it was made by Britt Marling and Zal Monglage. I think I said that right. And it was their concept, their entire production. They pitched it to Netflix. They loved it. And they made their own TV show. They were the show creators. And Britt Marling is the lead in the TV show. And she wrote all the episodes. Like, it can work. It can happen. That's what Community is all about too, is finding your community and finding someone who's good in that particular area and make a project.
Where do you like to go into, like, where do you like to hang out on social media? What's your platform of choice if it's social media?
Facebook, Instagram, and my website is probably the best way to like really find out who I am. So yeah, Instagram is at JA Greenwood 07, and then my Facebook is just my name, Jace Greenwood. You can find me on there. And then my website is www.jacegreenwood.com. And you can find everything you want about me. All of those are updated daily, I guess, if you want to say that.
And any works that do you have any creations like YouTube or Vimeo?
No, but Wolves, the movie me and Christian starred in, who he plays my assistant, and I'm putting air quotes into this. He's such a friend in that movie. I'm not a bad character at all. They're finishing it in June, is what we've been told, and I cannot wait for people to see this one. It's really that production company, the amount of work and passion and stuff that they put into their projects is insane. It's incredible. So when Wolves comes out, I would love to post that to places that I'm allowed to, and then I would love to see how well it does into the film festivals and things like that, because it was just an amazing concept.
Yeah, I was asking him about that. He didn't know about any of the film festivals where they're submitting it to yet, but
they did until COVID happened, and then now they're kind of like, we don't really know what film festivals will be open, stuff like that. But a wrench into that situation.
Okay, so what do you still have to learn? What do you want to learn as the next thing, or the next person that comes to your mind first? What do you want to learn from that person? So it's kind of a two-part question.
Yeah. What do I want to learn next? And then what do I want to learn from someone? I want to learn how to be more free in my acting. I want to be more open to my ideas that pop into my head last minute. I want to be more free into letting things happen differently if they change last minute. So that's what the next thing I'm learning is, to be more free with my character choices and things like that. When it comes to my acting career, my life, I mean, every day is a story. I want to learn about more and more people, their background, what they dealt with, what happened in their life, what they can tell me that is interesting and juicy. And that could literally be them being like, I get up every morning to have a drink of coffee, or I get up every morning to punch the punching bag. Like, well, why are you doing that? That's so, like, we only have one life. And I love the idea of hearing, like, me and my mom will stay up and have conversations for hours about like her childhood and her beliefs and why she believes in that and stuff. And I just think that's so important. So that's what I want to learn from someone, is their story.
And as far as who as far as being free and acting free
Mhm.
and open in a role, portraying a role, who do you think does that well?
Okay,
if
I'll
it's
name
more than one, first person that comes to mind.
I'll name 3 female actresses and 3 male actors, and by no means are they like my favorite or anything. I just look at their work and they always dumbfound me on what they do. Male actors is Leonardo DiCaprio, Robin Williams, and Eddie Redmayne. I think is incredible. By all means, there's way more than that. I'm just wanting to condense it because I could talk about this for hours. And then female actresses, I mean, Meryl Streep. You can't. She's Meryl Streep. I think Jennifer Lawrence is another one that I really, really like watching. And there's older actresses that I am head over heels for, like Emma Thompson, Maggie Smith. There's Patti LuPone, Martha. Wow, that's clearly I can't remember names today because I'm on the spot. No, I'm kidding. No, but there's to name just even a few actors that I watch them in everything, and I'm just like, wow, you could literally transcend into any character. They could literally look into camera and say, this is the right choice, and I'd probably bawling my eyes out, being like, it is the right choice. You have a reason behind doing that. But yeah, to name a few.
Leonardo DiCaprio, I just say there's a bunch of movies that like I don't know, but every time I watch one of his, it's like
you're just
wow. It's never wrong. It's like he is so good, and you don't know how or why. And Meryl Streep, one of my favorite movies of all time, Rendition. She does good in everything, but she does that role like she plays one of the best villains on the side of female, but when you're talking male, I think it's Bryan Cranston. But
I think Bryan Cranston
as far as villain, but Meryl Streep plays one mean female villain.
Yeah,
Rendition.
I will say that I'm talking celebrities now. I'm also going to talk about like the people that are around me who just haven't made it yet. My friend Morgan Kruger, she's incredible. I think my friend Shel Ramos, who's like been a series regular on 2 TV shows, a recurring guest star on Outer Banks right now. She's in The Purge right now too, and she was in The Gifted. And cool. She's incredible. I have other friends that I hands down, my friend Elise Bergreen, is her work ethic is something that I strive to have. So I can talk about celebrities all day, but the real reality of the situation, my friend here, Lisa Nidell, she just I don't want to say that. She just did a movie with Matt Damon, and here in Oklahoma, and
nice.
She's just incredible. Like the work ethic these women put in make me just go crazy. And then the support system that my other friends give me, like my friend Mary Catherine and my friend Raymond and Christian and all of them, like you just can't make it in this career by yourself. You need friends. You need a support system that really, really helps you because, like I said, you can go mad really fast. And
yeah, that's the whole reasoning behind what I'm doing with this podcast to connect
actors, and which I think is amazing, or people in general, which I think is incredible.
So it leads right into, and we might have already touched on this, but this is one of 2 final questions.
Yeah.
Why do you think the film industry is important in our world today?
Entertainment. What have you been doing in quarantine? If you have not binge watched one TV show in quarantine, you're a liar. the entertainment, making people feel something, making people realize like, I don't need to be that way, or maybe it affects them in a way that they realize like, oh wow, I've done that in my life, I should probably not do that, or I should probably do that. It's just, I think the film industry, and why I think the Me Too movement was so impactful, is because it came from leaders. In a sense, I firmly believe that actors are leaders. It's why you have actors who make people's political careers happen, or things along those lines, which I'm neutral on about experiencing your opinions about that situation. But that being said, I think actors are leaders, and I think it's very important to see these people we idolize so much make great decisions. So then it trickles down into society. And they start to realize like, I'm way closed-minded than more than I want to be. That's why I think the film industry is so important.
This one, I'm vying not to like go about asking this question, especially now, but I it's coming from more from a creative standpoint, really. But I call it your perfect ending to your story. Your perfect ending to your story, and it's way, way, way in the future. You're at the age you want to be. You've done everything you want to do. What is that perfect day? How do you see that going out? How that perfect day is as your last day? As a chance to like maybe write your ending to your story and potential autobiography script.
My answer to that is to be continued. And that's how I'm going to leave that. I don't have a plan or an action. I just go day by day and do things that generally make me happy and grow.
It's actually kind of powerful how you state that, to be continued, as you will continue on past that day to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
That's actually a little powerful. But thanks so much went well into an hour talking about just film and acting.
Right? Everyone go do yoga or something. Don't worry about acting.
Or just meditate in your home.
Yeah, just meditate. It does wonders for your health. It really does.
And hope to have you back on, hear about some other great things you'll be doing in the future.
I've had auditions, but you know, it's a guessing game at that point. All I can do right there is I've gotten a lot of auditions through quarantine that I've really enjoyed and that I just put my whole heart into. So we'll see if that pans out or not. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, then on to the next one.
And but you're in that position, you're in that time for a reason to learn something, and it takes you where it's going to take you.
Yes.
All right, this was fun, and thanks again.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Thomas. You have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, please share this with your fellow filmmakers and friends and anyone who is stuck safe at home. And comment on why you liked it and what stood out to you. Be sure to check back here for weekly episodes. Give a shout out to Jace. He is on Instagram and Facebook. And be sure to check out his page listed in the notes. And let him know you heard him on the show. Also, let me know how I'm doing. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give me a review and let me know what you liked or what changes I may need to incorporate. Thank you for listening and subscribing to Keeping It Real in the Film World. I hope you got some value from this episode.